who are already here, right, Aaron?
Exactly. Where do they like to go to spend their time off? Well, here with the answer is Israeli consumer behavior expert, Dr. Vili Abraham.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, so what is it? France, Portugal, tell us the favorite destinations for
All
Israelis.
right, so if we go in descending order, so it's London, that's number one. And then we have New York, Prague, Barcelona, and Vienna. These are the top
Interesting.
five.
Yeah, especially because I think those get like from most expensive to least expensive in the list.
And,
so it's not.
and most of the Israelis I know like to go to cheaper
Right.
destinations.
Well, you know, actually, if you look into recent studies that were published about this, Israelis are not necessarily, they don't necessarily go to places that are cheap. They're just looking for good bargains. So it doesn't mean that Israelis won't go to London. London is also very famous,
Right.
and Paris. So Israelis usually look for deals, and those who do look for something cheaper, they go to Georgia or Turkey. But a lot of
Right.
Israelis go to the top places.
Well, I think, you know, what's really interesting is the fact that there are so many of these locations that I know most of the Americans that I know would
course.
never go to. Like you said, Georgia, Romania. These are
Also
locations.
Israelis, yeah, not top five, yeah.
Not top five, but also huge destinations that Israelis like to go to because they're so close. Turkey, Greece.
Exactly.
Of course.
Some Israelis don't want to travel far away, so they take short haul flights.
Well, so keeping that in mind, why do Israelis prefer to go abroad rather than travel within the country?
Right.
Because I think that's another statistic that we saw is that most Israelis, as you said, they're looking for bargains, but you know, isn't
Not
the best
necessarily
bargain
within the
maybe
country.
staying in the country?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that people who usually do travel within Israel, if you're looking at Israelis, it's usually people from the higher socioeconomic status because it's more expensive oftentimes to travel within Israel itself. The average holiday would cost a lot more than it would cost, for example, in Turkey. If you look at, for example, the high seasons, whether it's in the summer or Pesach, for example.
Right.
So-
Prices of hotels. can
Yeah,
get very
and prices
steep.
of hotels are pretty expensive because we have a very, very significant shortage of rooms because of the bureaucracy. For example, in Europe, if you want to, open a hotel, so from scratch, from the planning phase until you erect a hotel, it would take you somewhere between 2 years as opposed to 10 years here in Israel. So the bureaucracy is really, really a
Well,
burden.
yeah, and I mean, I know so many Israelis are concerned about how many more Airbnbs are popping up now
Sure.
as a result of this issue. But, how is the government pushing Israelis towards traveling more within the country? Because I understand that there are initiatives to try to promote Israeli tourism within Israel, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of initiatives. So, for example, Jerusalem is very big on this. They always try to attract Israelis to go there for the weekend. We also have the government trying to encourage Israelis to visit a lot. However, it's not really helping because Israelis still find it a lot more attractive to go abroad. But however, if you look at the statistics of tourists coming into the country, it's really fantastic. So if you guys want to talk
Yeah,
about
they don't
Those
really
rates have
need
been
the
going up.
Israelis.
it really has been going up. For example, this year, by the end of the year, we expect to see somewhere around 4.6 million tourists coming into the country.
Wow.
Last year was 4.1 million, and they brought in 22 billion shekels into the economy,
Wow.
which is $1,500 per tourist. That's a serious boost to the economy.
And where are they coming from? Like, what kind of tourists are these?
Yeah, so 49% of tourists come either from the States, Germany, France, Russia, and the UK. These are
So pretty much the same places we're going. We just swap places.
We're just swapping. And by the way, they're coming here especially for Tel Aviv because Tel Aviv is a world brand. So they come for the
amazing.
nightlife, the culinary experience.
Well, and the beach.
Yeah. Well, you've given us a lot to think about,
Thank
places
you.
to go.
Yes, thank
so
you for
much.
joining us. Yeah, we have to plan our next vacation now with this in mind.